Hello and welcome to another instalment of Geek of the Week. My name's Dave Hext. I'm the principal percussionist of the Halle Orchestra, and you'll doubtless have noticed that in the percussion section we play a great number of different instruments. One of the favourites for me is the tambourine. Now the best way to play the tambourine is to hold it up above the music stand so the audience can see it and therefore hear it much better. You strike it with one hand, obviously because the other hand is busy holding the tambourine. That limits the speed at which you can play some rhythms. The best way to get a faster rhythm is to bounce your hand along the skin, and you can do that to a certain extent. A piece that's a good example of that is the Roman Carnival Overture by Berlioz, and in the introduction there's a lovely lyrical tune from the violas and the horns, over which the brass and the winds and the percussion play a dance rhythm like so. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 ba-da-dum. So you see, by bouncing my hand along there I can get a slightly faster rhythm. Any faster than that you really need to turn the tambourine over and play it with two hands. An example of that is in Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade in the last movement, where the flute is playing a tune and over the top of that the bassoon and the tambourine play a faster rhythm, and it goes like this. Now that technique works well for quiet playing. Any louder and you need to really bring the fist and the knee into play. That was Trepak from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Ballet. Everyone else playing quite loud there, so it means you can get away with that technique, which doesn't produce such a refined sound, but nevertheless it works well. Incidentally, if you need to use those two different techniques within the same piece, you need to be mindful of the fact that it's impossible to turn a tambourine over without it making a noise, no matter how hard you try. So you could have two tambourines in front of you, one that way up and one that way up. Now that involves having a trap tray. Now a trap tray is just a tray on a stand on which you have some of your smaller instruments and sticks. Now the trouble with trap trays is that they get in the way, especially if you've got a very small stage, and also it adds more time to the process of packing away at the end of a concert. Now after a concert you really just want to get off and see your loved ones at home, or perhaps go for a little drinky on the way. Now having to have a trap tray to pack away as well just adds more time to that process. So to get around this problem we have a simple technique, which is just simply turning the tambourine as you play it. So as long as you do that quickly and effectively, that does away with the need for two tambourines and does away with the need for a trap tray. Now, you can't sustain a note on a tambourine just by striking it. The only way you can make a note longer is by doing a roll. Now the shake trill is fine for loud rolls. Any quieter than that we have to do what's called a finger trill. Now to do that you lick your finger, and that gets rid of the oil that your skin is producing all the time to stop you drying out and turning you into a prune. That way you get a slightly stickier finger, which allows you to judder the finger along the skin and produce a roll. So it's much the same as if you lick your thumb when you want to turn the page of a newspaper or a book. So the reason I use my finger rather than my thumb is because then the thumb is available to do any articulation around the roll if necessary. But the thumb is much better for doing really quiet rolls. You just use the tip of the thumb. Now the length of a thumb trill is obviously limited by the diameter of the tambourine. Most composers realise that and don't write very long tambourine rolls. There's a few exceptions. Debussy is one of them. He was very fond of the tambourine and used to write very long tambourine rolls. So whenever his pieces come along I just simply have a larger tambourine that I keep at work. Which brings me nicely on to our latest recording of Image by Debussy, which is a fantastic piece, and it's a great recording we've done. And there's lots and lots of tambourine in that, and some especially quiet, long thumb trills, so listen out for those. Now to assist us in finger trills, we use what's called beeswax, exactly what it says on the tin, wax that's produced by bees. They're very clever little things. Not only do they produce honey, they produce wax which keeps everything together in the hive. It's used for furniture polish mainly, but we can also just put it around the skin just to make it a little bit tackier and to help us to do our finger trills. Now some composers actually specify whether they want you to do a finger trill or a shake trill, which gets a different character to the sound. Not only are finger trills good for quiet playing, but just gets a tighter sound to the roll. An example is in Petrushka by Stravinsky. It goes like this. Okay, so you can hear the slightly different character to the finger trills there than the shake trills. So that's a few examples of techniques that can be employed on the tambourine to allow us to make music in the percussion section.